Doug Miles, Don Henderson here in Sarasota, Florida. Don, we had a lot of opportunities to see the Orioles and many teams in spring training, but we're here at opening week of the Major League Baseball season. A couple of games in the books already, and it's already been kind of interesting.
Doug, it was interesting. First of all, the Orioles jumped out of the box in pretty good shape. They had a great spring training here. Another great year, and I think you said to me last week one day that when they're all finished, it's going to go over the million mark for attendance in the 8 years they've been here, which is great for Sarasota. And they finished very strongly, and now the season is underway.
A couple interesting games. Yankee fans, I'm sure, happy with the Stanton acquisition. 2 home runs on opening day.
No question about that, and even the Rays got off to a good start. They were down 4-0 in the first game and came back and won it surprisingly before a sellout crowd. And
beat the Red Sox?
Yep, beat the Red Sox and lost a close one yesterday, but the season is officially underway and everybody's going to be in business and should be a lot of fun.
Mets fans are happy too. Cespedes had a great opening day as the Mets beat the Cardinals. So Mets fans, I know the New York Post had a headline on the back page the other day, print your World Series tickets already.
Well, I think the other thing is to see how many games Cespedes plays before he gets hurt. He's like Bird with the Yankees. Bird, had to be operated on again. He's going to be out for 6 weeks minimum. And so they had a host of people last night that watched the game last night. A lot of youngsters came up and are taking some places in left field and first base and so forth. So Bird can't last. He's always getting hurt. Cespedes is always getting hurt. And it's incumbent upon them to be healthy and be able to play.
The Phillies had a decent start too, didn't they?
Phillies had a very good start. Lost the first game in extra innings 6-4. Really should have won the ball game.
Yeah.
And then last night they came off in extra innings, as you said, 11. I think it was 11. And I watched the game on MLB, and they won it. Had a great defensive play in the 8th inning to save a 4-4 tie, and then won it in the 11th.
Well, controversy as well. I know the Detroit game last night had a play at the plate. Detroit thought they won it in the last half, I believe the 10th inning, and he was called safe, and they did the replay and called him out. But you look at the replay today on television, it looked like he was safe. So already controversy.
Oh, yeah. And we saw 2 last night in the Phillies game. One at first base, a pickoff. They called him out. They changed reverse to safe. Excuse me. Then at home plate, same thing. Great relay from left field on the double to the shortstop into home plate, and they called the runner safe, which would have given the Braves a 5-4 lead in the bottom of the 8th inning, and they reversed it after they looked at the replay.
Yeah, replay always been a difficult thing in all sports, particularly in baseball, but they're working on it. Let's talk kind of a sad note. On opening day, one of the great New York Mets, of course, he played with several different teams, but Rusty Staub passed away.
They talked a lot about that last night. I thought it was very interesting. I didn't realize that he and Keith Fernandez were quite that close.
Yeah.
And
apparently he kind of helped Keith when he came to the Mets. Rusty was still playing at that time.
Yeah, and
helped him, get an apartment in New York City. Said you should live in Manhattan if you're playing for the Mets and all that.
Keith sort of broke down during the course of explanation of how close they were together and that he had passed away. And of course, he was also known as a gourmet chef, had 2 big restaurants in New York that were very, very successful. Died a little bit too young. I think 72 was cancer.
73, right.
73?
He had a heart attack 3 or 4 months ago. I think he was flying back from Europe.
Yeah.
They announced that. Then he had the kidneys shut down, and he was in a hospital for several weeks. So
he's one of
did a lot of great things for New York, though. The New York Post had a great article about all the things he did for the first responders after 9/11, raising money and all that.
And Jim Cutt did a nice piece on MLB last night during the Yankee game. He talked about that the Grand Orange was only one player that had 500 hits with 4 different players, 4 different teams.
You look at his statistics, really almost Hall of Fame numbers. He had 2,700 hits, almost 300 home runs, 1,400 RBIs. Great World Series in '73. So he had some great years, but I guess not quite Hall of Fame according to the voters.
Just a little bit short, and I think the other thing was that his durability. I mean,
23 seasons.
23 seasons in the major leagues. There aren't many players that can fit into that category. And as I said, you get 500 hits with 4 different teams. You're a pretty stable player.
Yeah, one of the great players, but really one of the great guys in sports over the last
Be missed in New York for sure.
40 years.
I didn't realize he was from Louisiana, but that's where he
New
originated.
Orleans guy, right?
Yeah, he was a New Orleans guy that went to the Colt 45s originally.
Original Astros.
Yeah, original Astros. And then moved on from there.
Yeah, great guy. Rusty Staub, we remember. And one more thing before we wrap up, even though we did a lot of baseball talk this spring, you got the Masters coming up next week. I know you follow that quite closely with the golf. Tiger has had a kind of resurgence, at least people think he is, and he's already, I guess, considered one of the favorites next week.
Well, it's really going to be interesting because he has been playing very well since he came back this time. You're exactly right. And the other thing is that Mickelson, who hadn't won in 3 years, won two or three tournaments back. That was a big win for him, and he's been playing very well since. Spieth had not been playing well, and yet as we go into today's action down in Houston, in the Houston Open, he's in fourth place. He's playing well. Bubba had a terrific match play tournament, and he won it. One of the most surprising finals. I think it was 6 and 5, almost unheard of. And so he's playing well. And then, of course, all the youngsters that are coming in, or Fowler's got to win pretty soon. There's so many. It's going to be a great tournament again.
Yeah, a little bit earlier Masters this year than normal.
Yes.
First week of April. So see how the weather's kind of iffy sometimes in April, even though it's still Georgia. It kind of get a little cold up there.
I sort of hope it is because, well, as you know, we're a little chilly here in Florida right now. And my son was playing in North Carolina at Pinehurst over the weekend, and he said it was 45 degrees and rainy down there last weekend. So you're right. You hope that the temperature is going to climb up a little bit for the Masters, and that it really goes well.
We'll keep an eye on it. Keep your eye on what's going on in the world of sports. Thanks for joining us here. Doug Miles down in Henderson once again. We'll see you again soon.